Peace, YouTube. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. This is FleurBrun coming to you today with a couple of topics of discussion. Check on in. I want to make sure you can hear me, and it looks like there's nobody here. Wow, did they totally block the live? Interesting. Maybe I should just start talking and just let it go. This is a first. I'm live, and I don't think it's on. Well, let me start. Let's start and begin. Obviously, YouTube is blocking the live. I see absolutely no one in here, and that is odd, but I guess I can just start talking and we'll start the discussion a little early since YouTube is down with the shenanigans. So we're going to talk about the Poleshift. We're going to talk about the bioengineer. Oh, wow, you guys are here. Yo, it's saying no one's on here. I guess I can wait then. Hey, 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 can everyone hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Peace, peace, peace. Let me know you can hear me, yeah? Okay, okay. Yeah, I thought they totally blocked it because the title was so charging, you know. So hey everybody, how's everyone doing? You survived? You got the notification? It's good. It's good. So please put a handy dandy like, well, don't put a like until you like the topic. I don't like you doing a disingenuous like. You shouldn't just like me because you like me. You should like the topic. So if you like the topic, if you like the things I discussed, then you put a like. I don't want fake likes. I want likes because you genuinely enjoy the topics. Okay? So check on in. See the blue skies today? Yeah. It's a rarity we have blue skies, right? Hey girl, Jamaica, what up? What up? What up, Jamaica's in the house? Book, book, book. Book, book, book. Come on in, y'all. Hey, AJ. How you doing, love? Okay. Hello, my lovies. Chattanooga's in the house. Tennessee, I know you guys got hit, so we're going to talk about what they did to you because the weather wars are real. Is so-and-so a Fed? You know, I can't, I know many of you remember the prediction I made, and it wasn't my prediction. It was about the South Carolina and the Carolinas being hit with those geo-engineered storms. So we'll kind of talk about, hey, On's in the mother freaking house. Baltimore, Georgia. Hey, so we're going to talk about that prediction that was made by the Intellis, and the Intellis got it from the Dark Cabal. So that was definitely a geo-engineered storm, allegedly. Okay, so we'll talk about that. I'll wait until we get to 500 so we can start. I know I saw the bio plant, and that wasn't only one queen. It wasn't the only plant. Right before the geo-engineered storm, the storm of mass destruction that was 540 miles long, you do know there were two other explosions that happened. One was in some part of Texas, I forgot the name, and there was a part of also Ohio again. So definitely there's some chemicalization. We're going to talk about the false flags. We're going to talk about the geoengineered weather as opposed to the pole shift, which is also going. So let me just put my my greatest condolences for everyone in North Carolina and the Carolinas and Florida, Tennessee as well, who had lost their homes, who were a victim of your governmental systems sending geoengineered storms towards you. And it's my opinion, and it's just an opinion. I would sue the heck out of the federal government. But, that's allegedly if it is them that did it. But you know what I think. Okay, so we'll wait until we get to 500. So today we're going to talk about the pole shift. Hey, Del Marche. We're going to talk about the pole shift. We're going to talk about the bioengineered mosquitoes from hell. We're going to talk about the NPCs, that are, basically coming out of they're going to be some of them are being deleted. Okay. And what else were we supposed to talk about? We're going to talk about the fake moon, right? The fake moon that they told us was going to show up and never showed up. I guess the Chinois didn't have the technology up up and running, so I guess they're delayed. What else? What else I said we're going to talk about in the title? All right, so come on in. And, the prediction was correct, and I wish it wasn't correct. And it was not my intel, y'all. It was intel I was delivering from a young lady who talked about that South Carolina, the Carolinas was going to be hit the hardest with one of the biggest geoengineered hurricanes ever, and it was going to take out the coastlines of Florida. Now, when I told you this a while ago, she said it would happen on the 15th, but, I put it on the calendar. I talked to y'all, or maybe I told the Zombies. Maybe I told Joel and the Zombies. Sometimes I give you things and I don't realize. I just tell everybody. And so I told you that this young lady had made the prediction, but she didn't make the prediction based on being psychic. She got the intel from the Dark Cabal, the bastards of mass destruction. So she got it from them. But I put on the calendar and I kind of warned my Zombies about it, right? And it didn't happen on the 15th. So I was like, okay. But a storm was brewing. But lo and behold, guess what? It came 10 days later. Okay. And they had some stuff brewing in the sky. So I'll wait until we get to 500. We'll kind of discuss the topic. Okay. I hope everybody's doing well. And I want to send my deepest condolences to a lot of the people who lost some of their lives and homes and unfortunately, the Carolinas, Florida, Tennessee, even Utah was getting it. I mean, it's ridiculous, okay? Yes, because of the lithium deposits in North Carolina. That's why we know it's geoengineered. You know what I mean? You ever watch Avatar? Remember Avatar? They had all that stuff under the tree, Awa? Was it Awa? Remember under the tree in Avatar, the Awa tree? And it had all that wonderful deposits underneath that, the colonists wanted. And what did they do? They bombed the heck out of the tree so they can get access to that, to the deposits. Okay? So, unfortunately, your Willy Wonka systems don't love you. They have no loyalty to you. And I hope you know this. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but if you trust in any Willy Wonka system, you are foolish and you will be led down a dark, dark road to the concentration camps that they have ready and waiting for everyone. Okay? So, we'll wait until we get to 500 and then we'll start the topic of discussion. So I hope everybody's okay. So much is happening. It is a beautiful blue day, but, I'm living, practically outside the zone a little bit. So, you know, it's like it's an old 70s movie. Some occultist told his assistant to give them lithium to keep the spirits from either attaching to him when he astral traveled. Oh, interesting. Miss Cassiopeia just said something interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Well, yeah, Delmache mentioned that did the storm go through the Trail of Tears and the sundown towns? And also that young man that was hung. Remember the delivery guy, the melanated guy who was hung? What's his name? Remember the young man who was hung and they couldn't figure out what happened to him? He was a delivery man in, what was it, in North Carolina, right? Yeah, so unfortunately, I think it might have hit the towns. Now, remember, you can only receive what you're in alignment with. So you do know, hey, Jumanji, you do know that oh, he was hung. Oh, thank you, Marcus. He was hung in Henderson, North Carolina. Okay. Thank you, Marcus, for sharing that. Okay, we'll wait until we got a little bit more to 500 and then we'll start. It's unfortunate, I think it's kind of laughable that they would even tell people that this man hung himself. You know what I mean? It's just amazing the lies that they make up. And while you guys are obsessed with Sean Combs, and let me say this, Sean Combs is a front. I hope you know that he's on every channel. They got Jaguar Rice on what's his name show. It's so laughable. They're distracting you while they're doing all of these laws. They have sleeper cells all coming in. Everything is a lie, y'all. And I hope that you understand this so that you don't get your feelings hurt. It's like, when your girlfriends tell you that your dude is a piece of garbage, and they tell you because they love you, and it's not because they're trying to hurt you, but they know what's coming down the road, and they tell you this. It's either you accept it or you don't, or you stay and you just stay blinded to the false narrative that your vote is going to mean anything. It is a selection. It's all a selection. It is all a lie. We're in a simulation. The reset is about to happen. Some of you will wake up. Some of you will be recycled back into the simulation to go through another cycle. Okay? So I'm just trying to help you out. I mean, you can have fun while you're here. I'm not saying you should be, I'm not saying you should just, lie down and just roll over until the time is up. I'm saying, if you know that it's a simulation and you understand and understand what this is, you can actually have fun in here. And don't take everything so personal, because it's really not. Okay? So, I mean, if you're sitting here doing paperwork because you're trying to be sovereign, you're under mind control. If you're sitting here thinking that your vote is going to make a difference and that either of the candidates is going to do something for you or for yours, you are under mind control. If you think that there is difference between different countries that are heading in the simulation, you are under mind control. If you think Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior, you are under mind control. If you think Muhammad is coming down here to give you 1,000 virgins and that you are going to be in everlasting heaven, you are under mind control. Okay? If you think that Chinese food is still good for you, even though they use tap water with little insects inside of it, little amoebas, you are under mind control. Okay? I'm just saying. We got a couple more until 500, and I'm not dissing anybody. I'm not dissing anybody. I'm just saying, break yourself out of your illusion, your disillusion. I mean, if you keep, the deeper you keep into sleep and the more apathy you have in this simulation, you're going to have more issues. You can have fun. You can have fun. But you really have to take in consideration that this is all a psyop. The whole simulation is a psyop. And if you think of all the greatest video games that you've ever enjoyed, then you can participate in this really just with a level head. Okay? Because the game, we're in the finale. So congratulations for everybody who's in the finale. Okay? And I talked about, and it was totally, I came up with the fact that all of the so-called Mandela effects are updates. And that's why when the update happens, which you perceive to be a Mandela effect, it just is an update in the simulation. That's why everything changes, books, names, everything. Oh, we're at 500. All right, y'all. Mark the time. We're at 13:05. We're going to start the topic. Peace to the east, west, north, and the south. This, again, is FleurBrun coming to you today with numbers, with quite a few topics of discussion. Check on it. Do you imagine I said that for so long? Anyway, so we're going to talk about the Poleshift and the simulated program, the geoengineered weather, the mosquitoes of the bioengineered mosquitoes. We're going to talk about the simulated people, Exodus. And also we're going to kind of talk about the fake moon that has still yet to show up because the Xinhua failed at giving us another false celestial fixture in the sky. I don't know if their project didn't work. Maybe they just didn't have the proper technology. Maybe those spy balloons didn't really give the right proper measurements, but what have you. So I heard a sound. Okay, so let's talk about the Poleshift. So many of you understand and understand, if you've been with me for quite a few years on YouTube, you understand that I have talked to you and spoken about the Poleshift for over 15 years. Talked about that during the time after reset. Well, it's kind of part of reset, to be honest. We would go through a geomagnetic shift, a pole shift, where the magnetosphere would shift and it would change its polar, the magnetism would change, so it would flip. Okay, it happens all the time. It's If you see records and old maps, you'll actually be able to record the fact that many of the geostorms that happened right before the pole shift, all of the different ley lines shifting and changing, like weather changing from one meridian to another, like somewhere where it's really hot and tropical, having snow, like what's happening in South Africa, where they had a host of snow, which it was an, I think they hadn't ever recorded this happening before. It also snowed somewhere in the Middle East as well. You're having several cracks. We have a crack that is in the middle of New York City that everyone's ignoring. We have a crack in Kenya. I think Kenya, the middle of Africa, going all the way up. I think it's Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. Someone could correct me. You have multiple shifting of the ley lines, and you're getting a lot of weather that is related to the pole shift, which happens always around reset. Okay, so for many years you can kind of research this. They don't, no one talks about it because they want to distract you. Okay, I'm telling you, and there's a few people like Nancy Liger from Zeta Talk. Obviously you've heard of like a lot of your prophets, like Edgar Casey talks about the pole shift. I think Nostradamus brings it up. I think Baba Avenga, who's from the sleeping prophet from Bulgaria, she was blind. She was blinded in an accident. So a lot of them talk about the pole shift, and there's many others who've spoken about it in the esoteric community. They used to, at least, but they've not talked about it because it's been highly hidden, and the way that they keep you distracted, you don't pay attention to the geographical changes that are happening like astronomically right now. Right now, you're noticing that all of your different places, the weather's totally different. Places that normally be a little cool and not normally wet, or now um the uh the weather is, hold on. Places that are normally cool are hot now. Places that are hot are cool. Places that normally would be desert are getting wet. Everything's changing, and because of the pole shift, so everything that was at the bottom goes to the top and top to the bottom. Okay, and the pole shift is not just related to just the geographical changes within the simulation underneath the domes, multiple domes, right? Tiers of domes. It also relates to the pole shift happens to the dynamics, the structural dynamics, social dynamics within the stratosphere, meaning that whoever was at the very bottom switches and goes back up. So it's like duality playing out within within the construct of what happens within the pole shift. Okay, so you can kind of look at this. Remember, it started with if you remember, some of you were with me a long time, so I'll just remind some of you who are just newer to me. I'll remind you of the fact that, do you remember a time when the birds had died? It was 2011. I was online. It was in where was it? Talk about this all the time. Was it in Tennessee? I forgot where it was. The remember, it was like a whole bunch of blackbirds fell from the sky. 2011 was on New Year. It was around New Year's. Okay, so that's the first when you knew that the ionosphere was changing, because remember, birds are connected to sonar, like it kind of like, well, they're very connected to the ionosphere. Like they can hear, they don't hear, but they feel the magnetosphere. Like that's what guides them to go north and south. Do you remember? I forgot, where was the birds? God, I talked about it every year. Anyway, it was the first time that we had actually witnessed, those of us who were in the pole shift mindset, we had witnessed something that was changing, and it was affecting the black birds. Black, wise, because black is very, very absorbent of radiation. They would be the first barometer of changes that were happening in the ionosphere, and the blackbirds were highly affected by it. Okay, so many of you remember that. Okay, now remember, a year after that to the date, blackbirds again fell out of the sky. Wait, my videos are not matching my voice. Do you guys not hear me properly? Tell me if you can hear me. Okay, okay. It got fixed. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know. Willy Wonka, because I'm going to talk about the graphene coffee too. Okay, so we're talking about the fact that the pole shift has affected the animals. Yes, I saw someone mention the whales. The whales were being beached at one point. I think also 2010 that happened at the end of the year, where the whales were beached. Dolphins also were being affected and shoring themselves, coming on the shorelines as well. So after the 2011 and 2010 with the whales, I'm not sure if it was the pilot whales or was the sperm whales. I'm not sure. I don't remember the whales, but I do remember the year after, 1 year to the date, blackbirds fell out of the sky again. Now, how do we know that this isn't the Willy Wonka system? Because it was cylindrical, meaning that it was pattern based, meaning that because the because we're under a dome and it's ran by a program, every year it changes and we get exposed to a certain energy and it usually amplifies. So within that one, it was pilot. Thank you. It was pilot. Pilot whales. Within that year, another year passed to the year to the date, another group of blackbirds was affected. And why black it matters, for people like, I don't see color. Color matters. Black absorbs a lot of radiation, more so. That's why I tell melanated people you have to be very mindful, because when they send frequency pulse waves out here, it really affects those with more melanin more. Okay, you amplify, everything is more amplified with you, because remember, black absorbs all spectrums of light. I talked about black being a color, and it's just black and white is actually inverted. It's not the same, but just for the purposes of you understanding what I'm talking about, black absorbs a lot of radiation. Like even when I put my hand on a charger, because I have copper skin, which is a super amplifier. My skin is very copper. It amplifies and usually absorb the radiation. Okay, so I tell brown people, when you engage with technology, and especially if you're plugging in your phone and you're holding it or you're sleeping next to it, you're absorbing all that radiation, and all these weird kind of funguses and, allegedly are appearing when people are getting these weird kind of, the C word, okay, which my opinion is a fungus. Okay, and remember when you watched Fukushima, when you saw what happened in Chernobyl, what did you notice about the fungi on top of those fixtures? You notice that they were eating the radiation, right? So it gets amplified, okay? So it's very important for those of you to pay attention. Whether you're lunar or brown or Asian, doesn't matter. But if you have dark hair or you have dark eyes and you have darker skin, you amplify, you take in more radiation than everybody else. Remember the boy who had a hole in his head? Remember they were doing experiments on the boys in Mississippi, where they were doing testing on melanated boys, told their parents they were doing some other testing, and the parents didn't know that they were testing these melanated boys for radiation. And one of the boys actually survived, but he had a hole in his head from them giving him so much radiation, because the Willy Wonka was testing to see how much how much radiation melanated people could take before they actually imploded. Okay, so I say this all to say is that right now, normally we get a lot of gamma radiation, which is very healthy for melanated people, for everyone, but especially for melanated people, because we take in gamma radiation like the Hulk, and it makes us stronger. It kind of makes us into X-women and X-men. Like, it really is profoundly ingestible. But one, they're putting pulse frequency waves that are low ELF waves that are more radionic, and like radio frequencies with low frequencies, it really breaks down the body and it feeds the fungi. Okay, and that's why you're seeing people coming up with, okay, let's just say that. I want to keep this video up. Okay, so that being said, just pay attention to as much as you're using phones. And also, I told you already, whenever you have these solar panels on your house, lithium batteries, you don't think lithium is coming up in a very odd way? Lithium batteries, lithium everything, lithium's in those cars, those geo-engineered cars made by that Borg himself. He made a car made of a lithium battery, and even in North Carolina, you were seeing these cars, because if any seawater touches these cars, they explode. Oh, very good job. Mr. Bioborg yourself, okay? So it's important for you to pay attention to your lithium batteries, things like that, because lithium is going to be part of this conversation. When we talk about the lithium that is actually plentiful under a town in North Carolina, then you're going to realize that the intel I gave you a while ago, talking about that storm that just hit, and oddly enough, North Carolina was hit the hardest. And it was up in the mountains. Like, why would up in the mountains be flooded? You have to think water comes, but it usually funnels downward. That was a 540-mile hurricane going very slow. The trajectory changed and purposefully landed in North Carolina, taking out part of Tennessee, over in the mountains. Over on the other side, South Carolina was hit pretty badly. Even touching, obviously Tallahassee was hit. A lot of the Florida coastlines on the west side and Tampa were hit pretty badly. But why would it purposefully go over? And also Georgia as well had got hit. Now, that intel that the young lady gave was amazing. It was 10 days late, but it was right on time. She was absolutely correct, and she got it from the dark Kabbalist. These were people telling her that they had purposefully going to create one of the biggest hurricanes to take out the Carolinas. So that intel was correct. Just timing was off. Okay, so when we talk about it was being steered towards North Carolina, and oddly enough, there is a town in North Carolina that has a lot of lithium underneath the ground. And there were plans, obviously, to take out to try to mine that lithium underneath the ground. But of course, people live there. So the townspeople weren't okay with the lithium being dug up. Asheville, thank you, Ashe. The lithium was to be mined, and the townspeople were like, no, heck no, we don't want miners and mines in our town to ruin our wonderful, sweet, quiet town. Well, what did they do? Allegedly, the Willy Wonka systems created a geoengineered storm that was 540 miles wide that hit North Carolina the worst. It literally took out roads, it took out houses. How do you have a whole hurricane hitting on top of a mountain and flooding a mountain? Usually water goes downward. Unfortunately, for people in North Carolina, because they were living in the mountains, a lot of them didn't have flood insurance. And unfortunately, and this is very sad, a lot of them lost their homes. Okay, and they haven't any sort of help, because you know how wonderful your Willy Wonka is. They like to give money to Ukraine, because the Daros are living there, fat off the hog, and they like to give it to Israel. And Israel's using it to go to war with Lebanon and Syria and Gaza and who else. But it's amazing to me that you still cape for a country, you still cape for a cosplaying man, he, she, Mr. Kamala. You cape for a person who comes from a party that has allowed sleeper cells to come all in your country, okay? Because you think it's your country still. This is what I'm talking about. You're under mind control. You're under some form of you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome. You're caping for a cosplaying brown woman who was part of the party that allowed 20 plus million immigrants to come in. And not only just immigrants, you've allowed them to come in and get more rights than you have, and they can't even give a pot to piss in for people in North Carolina. Okay, I'm just saying, y'all. It's not me, because I already know who these beings are. I know who they are in the simulation. These are NPCs, like high playing NPCs that are geoengineering these conditions and these events to draw in more loosh and to drive the collective mad. Okay. So that being said, it's important for everyone to realize that storm, even though the pole shift is very real, that is not part of the pole shift. The pole shift is a natural occurrence that happens during reset every single time. It's a cylindrical pattern that happens in the simulation. It's part of the agenda of the simulation. But you've got these weirdo NPCs that are lifetime loopers. They're not leaving. They don't want to leave here because outside of the simulation, they're losers. Okay? They have they're probably very low ranking people outside of the simulation. And in this simulation, they rank higher. They're like celebrities, superstars. They're being worshipped by you. These are lifetime loopers. They're not leaving. They're not leaving. So they want to create more chaos. They've been here for a while. They're lifetime loopers. They're not NPCs necessarily, but they use the NPCs to work in agenda to what they know is going to happen. They've been here so long, and they've been here through a couple of the pole shifts. So they know how to drive more insanity during this time. Okay, so now you have a whole town that has been totally devastated. Your Willy Wonka system can utilize now the place where people are where they no longer have their homes, and also all these wonderful immigrants that they have allowed in what you thought it was your country. And I've already told you that your country has been sold. It was bankrupt. It is no longer United States of America. It is some sort of Chinese name. I haven't found the Mandarin name. No one's told me yet. India and China and Xinhua owned your country, your previous country. It is bankrupt. It is no longer your country. Okay. I know that's very hard for you to accept. I think you should leave it, because you're just going to experience more chaos and more diabolicalness in the next couple months. But if you want to stay and, play with the shenanigans, it's a video game. Maybe you're just bored and you want to play. Maybe you just want to play a little bit. Maybe you want to play cops and robbers. I don't know. Okay. But if you stay, you're going to deal with some shenanigans, because they have to give you a reason to think that the country's been taken over by others, even though it already was years ago. Okay, so it's very important for you to realize that this geoengineered weather, there's another storm coming. And part of the storm wasn't just to possibly harvest the lithium under North Carolina. I've told you before that the geoengineered mosquitoes of mass destruction, which is a bioweapon, which is carrying a plague that already showed up. And I told you they may show up as encephalitis. It may show up as something else with brain swelling. It's already showing up. Okay, allegedly. This is untrue. I'm a maniac. I'm crazy. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay? It's already showing up. So I already told you that the next pandemic was coming, allegedly, fake news, okay? And that it would show up as brain. And this I got it from the tall white alien, Rudolph himself. He had denoted that would be the next one, and this would be the real one. Okay, so the reason why they brought all that water all to the southwest, to the western, to all of the east coast, is to inundate it with lots of water. So you have fungus and spores going all up in the sky, which most likely has been seeded by those chemicals in the explosions. Now, I know I'm going all over the place, but let me say this. Not only does that moisture carry the pathogens because if you lived in Florida, I lived in Florida for many years. Many of you know I don't live in Florida anymore. But when I lived in Florida, any storms that came, if people had storm damage, usually they would have like black mold in their house, especially if the water came in and went in. That's one of the things you would have to get specialists to come in to remove the black mold, because as soon as the water recedes, all this mold will collect, and then you have spores of mass destruction. And spores can cause a host of health issues, which I don't have to say. That's all in data that you can absolutely get online. Okay, so that being said, I've talked about the spores of mass destruction, but also the host of mosquitoes that can be used seeded with a bioweapon. Okay. And that is 2 par. There was 2 and 3 par, while they were also going to utilize this geoengineered storm to not only, clear the land like they did in New Orleans to get the Negroes out of the areas that they wanted to take over, and, get them out of the area so that they could take over those land masses. The same thing with the fires in Maui and Lahaina, where they made sure they had the fires and made sure that people weren't able to get home to take care of the fires, clear that area. If you don't see a pattern, I have to just let you know that you have to see the pattern of events that happen. They're not very original. They tend to do the same thing all the time. It's very predictable. If you understand and understand that we're in some sort of simulation, and that these are kind of like archons that create the same scenarios because they just build upon already standing events that happen every single cycle, every single reset, then you'll understand that this happens every time. Okay. And now, just to add a little more sauce to the diabolicalness, you do know that there were chemical fires that happened. You know about the chemical fire that happened in Georgia that many of you saw, where they said magically a pool store just ignited in flames because supposedly, allegedly, the water from the sprinklers touched chemicals and blew it up. Now, you do know, if that's a story that you make up, I mean, I've lived in Florida, the pool state. Many of you live in states where we have pools, right? I had a pool. If someone has chemicals inside of a warehouse that they're housing, right? And they know that something is very flammable, especially if water touches it, don't they normally put them in containers that are sealed tightly and wouldn't have sprinklers located in those rooms where that particular chemical would easily be ignited from contact? I mean, they think we're stupid. And you do realize that this big Georgia chemical so-called biolab that exploded, you do know that that smoke went all over Georgia. And this is what they're telling you. But would they tell you if they actually set the fire? Would they tell you that a laser may have hit the building, or somebody may have intentionally done it to put seed that chemicals with biological weapons that could go aerial wise, knowing that we have a lot of rain that will take the chemicals from the sky and place it into the waterways? And big up to the zombies who were on the other night, because we actually looked at the map to see where all of these so-called explosions of chemicals happened. And lo and behold, there was two that happened right before this so-called geoengineered storm that went across the western part of the South. Now, when we looked at it, it made a triangle. And you know what it made a triangle over? There were two other chemical explosions, one again in Ohio. And the only reason I found it, y'all, is because I was trying to find out the date of the first Ohio Palestine chemical storm. Remember the chemicals that spilled? I was trying to find the date, and then lo and behold, guess what I found out? Around the 24th or the 25th, this Ohio had another chemical explosion. Y'all, did you know that? And then there was another chemical explosion in Texas over near Dallas. Did you know that? All right before the storm. But guess what? You know where that triangle went right over, y'all? The Mississippi. And you know how the Mississippi spills into all these different waterways. You don't think that if, I'm just saying, I'm playing devil's advocate. Let's just say that a system wanted to hurt people, a collective, and they wanted to poison water, a large enough water, but they needed a waterway that spilled into a lot of other waterways. Where would they do it, and how would they do it? I'm just playing devil's advocate. All I'm saying is that I would be very mindful going to get your local coffee with the ice if it's not filtered, because the only places that filter are very bougie, different places. The majority places you go to eat, and I mentioned the Chinese food places because many of you don't understand or understand that many of your fast food places, they don't filter their water. Your ice, which usually has fungus because they don't clean those machines, usually has like some sort of bacteria unless they clean it, okay? And all these places where you get, fountain drinks, where you get your soups from, where they boil their rice. Because I've talked to people and they will filter their house, their shower, but they won't filter. They will use their sink water to boil their rice and pasta. Go figure. Okay. So that being said, you have to think to yourself, why wouldn't you do your due research to find out that right before this geoengineered storm, which was 540 miles long, and these chemical fires happened right before and right after. And right when we found out what happened with the big explosion at the so-called biolab in Georgia, it was going to rain. Go figure. And what happens when chemicals are in the air and it rains, y'all? What happens? You tell me. Where do you think those chemicals go when it's locked in the air and then there's precipitation and it falls down to the ground and it affects the waterways? And interesting enough, it triangulated over the Mississippi River. Okay? So I'm just a paranoid, what they call me, conspiracy theorist. You don't have to listen to me because I could be mentally ill. I could be making these things up. Why listen to me? Always do your due diligence and you go research. Okay? And then you have them wonderfully showing you Sean Combs all over this clown, Jaguar Wright, which had gotten more airtime than this disgusting, despicable person who claims that she's a whistleblower, but sat idly and watched Aaliyah and all these young people be raped and molested and said, not a word, not a word, but utilizes this particular time to come out and speak on things. Interesting. Interesting that Jaguar Wright is being centered along with Sean Combs and all these other celebrities. And again, y'all, in this realm of the simulation, celebrities are the lowest in the other realm. They play high tier here, and because they are low tier on the other realm. So you're worshiping losers. You're worshiping very depraved. That's why a lot of their behavior is very depraved. A lot of their behavior is very low vibrational. They engage in sexual deviant behavior, and all of this to, precipitate this to your children all the while, so that you have everybody in the populace now, all young people, saying that they're non-binary, they're trans, they're all kinds of things, because they're being superimposed with all of these geo-engineered ideologies that are being perpetually bombarded with on all of social media. And I've told you years ago, and I'm going to say it to you again, all of social media, television and vision and radio was solely, listen to me, solely created for mind control programming. Whether you get a slight dose of entertainment, that is just like you taking a cyanide and it just happens to be sweet. That's just a side effect. Pay attention to all of the things that are being geoengineered. And if you go inside the schools and see all of the different types of things that are being shown and presented in books in the library that they wouldn't ever have presented when we were in Generation X, the type of books talking about how to masturbate your adults, how to hide from your gender from your parents and be able to live your best life. These are all books, how to play with stool. Like, these are all books that are now being presented in a populace of children, and this is why the children are coming up with really weird ideologies, because they're being bombarded, because everyone has a cell phone, everyone has a tablet, everyone has a TV, everyone goes to movies, and if your child is not perpetually under mind control, well, the neighbor's child will imprint that on them. So it's a nice little dose of social engineering that keeps perpetually affecting all the children, because it passes along like a virus. Because once one child is infected, they will infect the rest of them. Okay, but I digressed. So let's go into the fact that all of these NPCs, as you're noticing, there is a high amount of so-called celebrities that are transitioning from a host of, things that start with the letter C. And whether they took the geoengineered blah, 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 blah or not, we can only presume. But the fact of the matter is the simulation is ending. And with the simulation ending, many of the NPCs are disappearing from your lives. And what you have to understand, I told you the rules and regulations of what would be helpful for you to have the best, more helpful players within the dynamics of your simulation, is to shed some of the NPCs, because remember, you only have certain amount of players that you have instituted in each person's game. If you are a soul being, if you are a being coming outside of the firmament and you are in the cryo state, this is who I'm talking to. You only have a certain amount of beings that are inside that you have allotted to your game. So if you have people holding a space and that space is needed for an upgrade, I just have always given you my opinion, and you don't have to listen to me. I would just suggest that you kind of shed some of those NPCs that are not useful, that you need upgrades on, just like the Mandela effects are upgrades. You should definitely separate. So let me use an example. So let's say you have a household, okay? And I'll do females and males, it doesn't really matter. And you have a household, and in your household you have maybe your children, and you have extended family, maybe you have a husband in there, and you maybe have extra characters in the outer perimeters of your game. And you in the video game only are allotted 2 male progenitors, protagonists, or, well, they could be protagonists, but you only have 2 spaces. And let's say those spaces are being held by 1 male child, and then maybe someone that you're letting in the house, maybe like a brother or an uncle, or maybe just an extended family member. Just know that that space, like when women are saying they're looking for a man, but they have spaces held by males, you can't bring in another male when you already have spaces that are held by those 2 positions. There's only 2 males allotted in that game with you at that time. Antagonist. Thank you, Catherine. Antagonist. So what happens is that you're wondering how no male is able to come to you, why relationship is something happening, like what's happening, is because you don't have enough data for another male. So you have to shed, I want to be nice, shed one of the, and it's not going to be your child, obviously, but you have to shed a male in order to get a male that's more in alignment. And to hold that position. So if you have spaces of specific characters and they're holding spaces and they're not serving your highest purpose in the game, you would have to shed them in order to fill it with another character. Do you guys kind of understand? Can you kind of, so if you have like people just holding spaces, like just spaces in your life, and they have no purpose, I would just suggest that you kindly, and you don't have to be rude about it. I'm not telling you to be heinous and disrespectful. I'm just saying I would shed that space and allow for a higher version of that character to come into your life. Most of the people in your life are most likely NPCs anyway. So for that reason, it's very important for you to have the highest and best and greatest players being, NPCs, whether they're NPCs or not, but you want better players to assist you, better characters to come into your life. So if you have spaces that are already held, you cannot, especially if you only have 2 males allotted to you, 3 females for someone. If your children are taking up that space, obviously, I don't care if you perceive them to be NPCs or not, those spaces are being taken, and you're not going to get rid of your children. So it would have to be someone outside of that. So I just say pay attention to that. Prune. Who said that? Oh, I love. Thank you, she who walks in the word. Thank you. Pruning. It's important. Oh, a helicopter. I think I might have triggered something, y'all. It hasn't happened since Florida. Remember Florida? All my lives had helicopters. I think I triggered. They're coming. Anyway, okay, so we're talking about the NPC. So what you're going to notice is right now at reset, a lot of people will be transitioning. I've just given you a forewarning. This is a fact. It's what I know. It's very important for you to understand that this is a time where many characters are leaving. And also some real beings may have not gotten the okay to go on to the next stage of the game. They may have transitioned because they're coming back for after reset. Not everybody is qualified to go to the finale. So not everybody, there are real game players, actual beings that are players that haven't allotted the points or the conditions to stay in the game. So many of them will be transitioning and coming back for the next game, the next cycle. Okay, and you aren't to judge it, because not all the time were you ahead of the game. Not all the time were you allotted to stay in for the finale or make it to the finale. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand that you must prepare, because if you're looking at all the celebrities, every day you're hearing another celebrity transcend, because this is the end, friend. This is the, oh, so the simulation is crazy and it plays with me, y'all. Oh, this simulation is a bastard. On my phone, I just got a notification that Hurricane Kirk, some of you know what that means. Hurricane Kirk is coming in a three category. It does that purposefully. Remember, it's my simulation, so it's going to show up with names and people, names within the thing. So, you know, Hurricane Helen, I knew a Helen, Hurricane Kirk, many of you know that. That's interesting. So now you know, y'all, another hurricane is being geoengineered. Now, this could be a real one, but I doubt it. Just brace yourself, because I'm sure those in North Carolina haven't even got, I know Kirk, right? Oh, goodness. Anyway, so in terms of the simulation, people will be transcending right now. And we have another bioweapon coming, geoengineered bioweapon coming, in the pathogen. It might come in spores, it might come in mosquitoes, but I've already talked about the Portal's nose. Yeah, Captain Kirk, great. Interesting. Many of you know that it's coming. I'm distracted. Hold on. This is how the simulation works. I have to really concentrate. You see how I'm just thrown off a little bit? Okay, so the next stage of the game, you know that this is the end. This is the finale. We talked about this. You could have fun with it. You could go buck wild with it. Okay, so if you understand that there's a video game, you know it's the Purge meets like the Hunger Games meets like what is it, the Handmaid's Tale, what is that game, when they beating prostitutes over the head, whatever that is. You got all these things in the mix. Okay, probably the zombie apocalypse, because you know anything fungus in the mind, people might, you know, walk around going, ooh, you know, eating of the cats, that could be a zombie, because remember the town where they're eating the cats. Thank you to Daryl who shared this. The town that was first chemicalized, that's the town that they're accusing the Haitians eating cats, but they're not talking about the fact that it could be for a byproduct of the effect of the chemicals that happened in that area, and maybe people are turning into zombies. Oh, Grand Theft Auto. Yo, you hear the coyotes? You hear the coyotes? Do you guys hear that? They sound like jackals. You don't hear it? Okay. As soon as I talk about the cats, do you see what the simulation does? I love this. Well, I don't really love this game. I don't want to call that. Okay. Everything's a distraction. I'm telling you, the simulation is off the chain, y'all. It's off the chain. Okay, so let's talk about also the graphene in the coffee. Because you know I have to make it even. You know, many of you know that I have a love for coffee. Coffee has been my lover for many years. I've enjoyed the luxury of drinking something so dark, beautiful, and handsome. Unfortunately, the graphene has made it very difficult for me to enjoy my cup of Joe, or my cup of other. I should change the name. I don't want to name it Joe because he poops on himself. That's not too much fun. Anyway, it's very important. I wouldn't mess with anything with mushrooms, y'all. Whenever you have a high amount of radiation, remember I talked about Chernobyl, and I've talked about Fukushima, and I talked about what radiation and fungi do. Fungi eats radiation and it helps it to grow, allegedly. You can do the research on that. Okay, I wouldn't mess with anything that is connected to fungi. I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't touch nut a mushroom. I wouldn't put it in my body, because when you see how these mushrooms are growing in people, and it's called C, you will understand that I would just try to keep as much fungi out your body as possible. This is my opinion. Don't listen to me. And anybody who's promoting that, they're probably a fungus themselves. There's funguses among us. Okay, the coffee. Anything dark, anything charcoal, anything chocolate, anything dark, most likely, allegedly, I'm a maniac. This is not something that I can, let me just say, I would just be careful about graphene, okay? Anything that's dark and is ground already, I would be concerned. And like I say, you could follow my lead. Anything that I have that's dark, if I have to do anything, I don't mess with coffee with caffeine, because caffeine messes with O positive. Big up to the O positives, y'all. Our bodies are really reacting to the craziness right here. So O positives, you know how we're very sensitive to caffeine. Be careful, O positives, because it will make you nice and fluffy. You know, it depends on the kind of fluffy you're okay with. But it can make you nice and fluffy. So I would not mess with any caffeine. O positives. Okay. So O positives, I know it's very hard. You know, I told you about my love of coffee, how me and we had a love affair, but he was hurting me. So I had to give him up. Okay. If you want to do decaf and only buy your own coffee, your coffee, um, uh, your coffee beans yourself that are Swiss washed and are tested for micro plastics and microorganisms. There's certain coffee that it says it tests for any sort of, because remember, anything stored in silos, what is it called? Mold and spores. Rice, beans, anything stored, corn, held in silos is dangerous. So it's very important. I wouldn't buy anything ground already. I would buy it Swiss wash and with the no organic, and also with the seal that says it's been tested for micro or what is it called? It says it on the top of your package. Mine says it's been tested for molds and so all that stuff, for all the types of molds. I mean, you're going to spend more money on it, but it would be that you wash it. And even when you have your coffee, I wouldn't even trust the people who say that it's safe. I would wash it with, baking soda, which I tell you to do all the time. Baking soda kills, it's my opinion. That's what I do. Don't listen to me. I'm a maniac. I would just take it and clean it with, because it kills spores. That's in my opinion. Okay. And I would just say it's very important. I wouldn't mess with coffee, chocolate, and most of your chocolates, y'all. I hope you're not eating the chocolates that are being sold regularly, because they all have soy in it. Okay. They have soy and all kinds of, every chocolate that you buy, like Kit Kat, Snickers, what's the other one? Whatchamacallit, what's the other chocolate? Snickers, Milky Way, M&M's, what else? Kit Kat. Did I say Kit Kat? What's the one with caramel? I forgot. Twix, right? Hershey. They all have soy in it, y'all. Stop buying your son's that. If you're buying your son soy, you are the reason why he's changing and switching, and he's gonna be brah. Okay. Stay away from all of those. Read the ingredients. You could literally tell me that I'm wrong. Go read in the ingredients right now, and you will see out of all of them, because that's one thing I do. I'm big on fact checking with all the ingredients. Go look at all of them. Look on the ingredients, y'all, and you will see soy on all of them. You cannot mess with anything. Make your own chocolates. Remember back in the day, stop being lazy. We used to make everything. If you like chocolate, make your own chocolate. So you put your own ingredients inside. Make your own cakes, make your own coffee, make your own things. Stop buying and expecting third parties to have more care for you than you have care for yourself. You get mad that the ingredients are sucky, but why are we funding them? Why are we funding biological narcissists that are like eugenicists? They utilize you as test tube dummies. They do. So it's very important. Like mommies, you know how I get down. I make everything from scratch. You know how I stay fluffy? And I don't even eat that much. I just put a lot of love in my family. I make everything for my family. Okay? And when I have a man around, I make everything for him. Okay? Because if he's clean, then I'm clean. So stop being lazy, young ladies. Do it for yourself and for your health. And actually you'll be prettier. You won't have to wear all that makeup and mass destruction. Your hair will grow really long. You'll be healthy. Your yoni will smell like a garden of Eden. I mean, everything will be right. Make everything yourself. You cannot trust demons with your body. This is not natural. Normally we used to grow everything, and occasionally we go out and get a couple of things from the market. Now you get everything from the market and grow less. That doesn't make sense. Start taking care of, because this young C-Star was like talking smack. It was like, oh, these old women. Listen, honey, you better hope you look like me when you're my age. You better hope. The majority of you eating microwave food, getting all kinds of radiation, no nutrients, and no true sunlight because the sun is fake. Okay? So you better hope when you're my age, you look this fluffy. Because believe me, when I take off my clothes, I'm okay. And anyone who sees me without my clothes is okay. Okay? Okay? If you keep eating microwave foods, processed foods, starch of mass destruction, potato chips for lunch, drinking heavy coffee on an empty stomach, drinking all these Monster drinks, you won't have skin like this when you're my age. You won't. You'll look a lot different than me. That's why all these chicks have to get all this kind of Botox and all this stuff when they're like 25. You shouldn't have to do all that when you're eating healthy. You're young, you're robust, you should be eating and making all your own stuff. It does not take a lot to make your own foods, y'all. It really does not. It's very lazy. Stop going places and doing your own wonderful oil pulling. You know what I mean? Stop having sex with, NPCs of mass destruction that got monkey balls all in his butt. On weekends, he's hanging out with Tommy, and Tommy's got him bent over saying, hut, hut, hut. Okay? It's just a very important, sea stars. And sun stars, you already know. Because y'all don't vet. You see a big butt. You see a big butt and a smile. That girl is. You see a big butt and you see, and I don't even know how you go with the ant girls. Maybe you guys like the butts with they look like ants. I don't know. But you sticking your wand all in there, your magic wand won't be magical anymore. It will be dead. It'll be like a broken wand. Keep sticking in monkey balls. Women of mass destruction, holes of mass destruction. You stick it in her yoni, and it's not really a yoni. It used to be a wand. Okay, y'all got to get better vetting skills. Okay, you can't tell the difference between a man and a woman, and that's the problem. Okay, you should be just as choicey about the women you engage with than the same as women do. Y'all are sticking it in everything and you think a condom. What's the point of you wearing a condom when you're sticking your tongue on her in every which hole? This person said this to me. They're like, oh, I use condoms. But did you kiss her? Did you lick her? Did you smell her? Did you suck on her? Yeah. Hello? So what the condom is just for, like, show? What is it, like? It just like cosplay? What's the condom for? Because you put everything on her. All her shedding is in your skin. Okay, so stop talking about you using condoms unless you're putting a whole body condom on and you're rolling down the street with like latex on and you're having sex. I mean, that's the only way you would be safe. Okay? I'm just saying, y'all, I think you should enjoy and I think you should have wonderful, healthy partnerships, but God darn it, gentlemen, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And a lot of these young ladies, a young lady who has pride in herself isn't going to let you smash on the first or second time. That means that she does that for almost everybody she's with. She says she's special because that's like her Rolodex comment, her default statement. Oh, you're special. No, you're not special. You're special. You're the special of the week. You know when you have like coupons, the special of the week? You're like the special of the week. Like you're the coupon of the week. Okay? Stop it already. Some of you gentlemen need to be more choicey. And you wonder why you can't get women like us because you're sticking it in every dirty rag you see. Who would want to be? Who wants community wand that's broken? And you're taking in all her shedding and all the nanoparticulates. You're gonna be the zombie apocalypse. You're gonna be the monkey balls guys. The monkey ball, like you're gonna be walking around like that. Come on now. So I'm talking to gentlemen too. I get on the sea stars, but I'm just saying, you gotta be more choicey. Right now, everybody's got things going on, and remember, I don't want to even talk about the tests that they're doing because I got some intel, and I don't think I can say it now, y'all. I can't. Because they always get mad at me when I say things like this on YouTube. Well, I just got intel because our sea star lives abroad, one of them, and she got intel from one of the doctors, and I don't know if I could say it. How do I say it? Okay. People are testing positive for something that used to be an issue a long time ago. Remember? Starts with H. And part of the symptoms, and this is alleged, okay? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a maniac. This is a comedy skit. Was a fever that does not go away with any kind of antibiotics. And it literally has, it doesn't go away with any antibiotics, and like it has cold-like symptoms as well, and it's lingering, it stays long term. And when that's how the nurses were able to tell without testing these people that they had the big H. Okay? And because people were getting the blah, 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 the blah, because people were getting the blah, 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 a lot of people are testing positive for, the big H. Remember when the Brazilian president had said, Bolsonaro. I know that many of you don't like Bolsonaro. Big up to my Brazilian family. A big bondage to my Brazilian family. I love you. But some of you really gave Mr. Bolsonaro a hard time when they said that if you get the blah, 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 you would show up with the HHH, or you would be an alligator and it would be all your fault. And then they took him off a Twitter, okay, for saying that. So I'm just saying, when you get that kind of intel, when you got a whole president giving you the forewarning and you laughing and acting like it's like he's being a maniac, I don't know what president. I mean, God darn it, I wish our presidents gave us warnings. Wouldn't you wish that your president gave you a warning? I'm just saying. And then they blocked them. So I'm just saying, y'all, if you got the blah, 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 you should test. And then you got to be careful, because people, if you didn't get the blah, 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 because that's what I'm talking to our homeboys. A lot of you homeboys took the initiative not to take the blah, blah, blah. But then guess what? You sleeping with the blah, blah, blah people. And then you wonder why you're feeling a certain way. You cannot be clean and then sleeping with dirty people. I mean, I'm just saying. You don't get the blah, blah, blah. I can't listen, y'all, because they always take my videos off. I'm trying to be, I speak, I can't say it out loud, because if I say it out loud, they always get on me. They're going to take the video down, because every time they say, oh, it's medical misinformation, that's what they do to take the videos down. My videos get taken down all the time. So I can't be as fully disclosing. I got to be I got to be a little bit more discreet. So you got to just listen to the people in the chat, because they're telling you what I mean. Okay. This is very important for you to realize. Okay, so let's talk about the geoengineered and also about the nanoparticulates and the graphene. So I would just, what I do, because I can only tell you what I do. Okay, I just avoid all coffee that is ground itself. I make sure that I do it myself, and if I get it, I wouldn't get any coffee that is caffeinated, because I'm O positive. Just me personally, I wouldn't get anything caffeinated. And unfortunately for some of our sun stars and sea stars, a lot of people are having strokes. And, my opinion is that, in order for me to make sure that my circulation in my body is working, especially with amount of high amount of radiation, because as far as I heard from, things, is that, I gotta be careful. I'm trying to be. I want the video to stay up, y'all. A lot of times when people's blood gets thick, I always think to myself, do they have a lot of radiation around them? I just ask the question. I would just ask the question, do they have a lot of radiation around? Okay? Because, from what I heard from a doctor one time, when you have a lot of that, your blood gets really thick. And if you've had other blah, blah, blahs, your blood is really thick as well, as you've heard, right? So I just say a lot of times, me personally, I keep cayenne pepper on hand. I make sure that vitamin C and zinc are always on deck. I make sure that ginkgo biloba, I'm of O positive, so I have a sensitivity to it. For those I know who don't have sensitivity to it, I personally give it to them. Okay? So I'm just saying, it's very important for people to pay attention right now, because if you don't, it could be life or death. And you want to stay in this simulation till the end right now. If you're in the finale and you're a real soul being and you're coming from outside the firmament, from the quantum field, in the cryo state, you want to stay into the end, because if you made it this far, you want to wake up out of the simulation. You wouldn't want to go through reset and have to do this all over again, because it's going to be another cycle, a bunch of geoengineered, mud fled children, cabbage patch children being produced under the ground as we speak, so that after the whole pole shift, they're going to reinitiate these people in these cities and start all over again. It's very important for you to pay attention, because it could be anything. And right now we're in the month of October, and October is, in my perception, is the real Lion's Gate. Why? Is because Oc is 8. So the real 8-8 is going to happen, and usually in 8-8s, big events happen around that time. Okay, they switch it around for you, so you think it's something else, but really in itself it's the October. Okay, so October is going to be the 888 portal this month. So in about, what is it, the 3rd, in about 5 more days, because we just had this so-called another fake eclipse. Okay, I haven't seen, did anyone see the fake moon, y'all? Can anyone tell me if they saw the moon? They told you were going to see a second moon. Did anyone see it? Can someone put a, if you saw the moon, put a 1. If you saw the fake moon, has anyone seen the fake moon? Put a 1 or a yes, or, either one. Have you seen the fake new moon? The one that they said is a second moon? I think that Xinhua messed up. I think they tried to put it up and it didn't work. I think they tried to. Okay. Someone said yes. Nope, nope. Most people said no. No. It's in your room. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, so you have pictures? Wait, Start says they have pictures. Star, would you mind sending me pictures? Where are you coming from, Star? What city or what country? Can you tell me what country you're coming from, Star? And if you don't mind sending it in my email, if you don't mind, because I haven't seen it, and no one I've seen. I wonder where you come, what state you're coming from, Star, or what country. Nope, nobody saw it. Okay. All right. So just let me know, Star. If you can send it to me, that would be great. Okay, because they've said that this so-called fake second moon, and then you notice they've been real quiet, right? After it failed. Okay, but I would like to know, Star may have seen it, and you have pictures too, Juan. Juan, would you mind sending me? If you guys have seen it, can someone send it to me, please? And I'll show it, I'll post it here if you don't mind, and I'll give you credit for the picture. Because I haven't seen it. Oh, my email is in my description. So you can always see my email in this description, y'all. Okay? It's a fake moon, y'all. But they said, remember they said there's going to be a second moon? We were supposed to see it on the 29th, and we've been waiting. And I haven't seen, but all of us, a lot of people got their menses, their period early. A lot of people had double periods. So we know that something was out there. Could the moon be dark? That second moon, maybe it's dark and no one can see it. I don't know. So it's important for everyone to, pay attention to the sky right now, even though I know that the sky is what you call it, is a digital screen. It's a digital screen, y'all. It's a digital. Thank you. AJ put my email up there. Thank you, AJ. AJ put my email up there. So a lot of people got their menses early, including myself, and I know that that had to do with something that's in the environment. It could be because of the so-called fake eclipse, but we don't know why. So it's important. If anyone can send the pictures, please send it to my email that AJ put on there. You can also see in my description, and I'll post it in YouTube so everyone can see it, and my IG, okay? Yeah, they said the 29th. I haven't seen it. But again, maybe Star is living in a different country, and they may have seen it where we haven't. So I don't want to say that it hasn't happened, but many of us haven't seen it, as you see in the chat. Okay? So a lot of people got their menses early. See? Everyone got their menses early. Yeah. There's something, because remember, what does the moon control? It controls the women's cycle. So many of us got our menses very early, and it's because of that moon. And I think, or the moon, or the energy that we're putting out there. The moon wasn't seen, but something was changing the women's menses. See, a lot of people got it early. Yeah. Very odd. Very odd. Came in a very strange way. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna, I don't want to stay too long because I don't want to say too much craziness on here because obviously, that once you say too much, YouTube, I am one of their favorite people to like try to come to my channel, even though they'll let all these other people talk for days, never do anything to their videos. They're fine. But, little old me from Mount Vernon, New York, just a mom. Like, why would you want to bother with my videos? Obviously, if I'm not credible, why would you care if I share anything? This is the thing that I'm thinking. This is the thing that I'm thinking. Like, why would it matter to you what we talk about? It's amazing. My gosh. Anyway, so y'all, I hope this was helpful. Start shedding your simulated NPCs, get some upgraded ones for your finale. Just my suggestion, be nice about it, be righteous. If they aren't sitting in the position holding it well, replace them. It's a very Sagittarius way to be, but I'm helping you, okay? I know I'm a Sag and triple Sag. It's very easy for us to just, say, listen, you're not working out, we can replace you, okay? It's very important. Tonight we'll be on Zoom tonight, so if anybody wants to join us, you can join us on Zoom. We'll be talking about what happened in North Carolina. We'll talk about the mosquitoes, which is important because we have our regimen that we do. We're kind of going to just update our protocol of the things we need to do to make sure we aren't getting bitten by, Billy Gates mosquitoes of mass destruction. We're going to kind of talk about the moon. Hopefully one of the sea stars or sun star will send the moon to us. So kind of show the pictures on Zoom tonight. Zoom is at 9 p.m. Well, Eastern, because I go on 7 p.m. Central. Okay, so I'm gonna go, y'all. I want to go get something to eat. I made my own coffee at home, my own cold pressed. That's decaf. It's not as fun as my old lover, the Starbucks coffee, but it is what it is. I do love a good dark tall coffee, but it's the finale and we got to get it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be here for the exodus and for the waking up out of the simulation. So I got to keep everything copacetic, at least here. Anyway, y'all. So I'm going to go. Make sure you're taking care of your food. Stay away from oils, from seed oils. It's going to be, you're going to have to really, this is a finale, y'all. You can't slip. Time keeps on slipping. If you slip, you might slip out. You may slip out. You want to stay alive through the end, y'all. So whatever you got to do, you got to keep your biosphere really healthy. And it's getting tougher, but you know what you have to do. It's easier to do. It's easier to do if you just are willing to make the adjustments to being addicted to eating third parties' food, and know that nothing you eat out in public is being filtered. Majority of foods and water and drinks you're drinking aren't filtered. And we talked about what's going on with that waterways, with all that stuff they sprayed up in the sky that most likely was rained down into the waterways, and people are going to be consuming that. So, let them have a little access to you as much as possible. And yes, please put a like on a video if you like the topics. If you want the video to stay up, it's easier to stay up, I think, when there's more likes on it. So if you like it, when you exit stage door, right or left, I would appreciate it. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go. Have a wonderful day. I'll see the rest of you on Zoom tonight. Okay? Peace. I can never end it.